Please give them a big round of applause. With the blessings of UNESCO Chair, Revered Professor Dr. Vishwanath Karad sir, Founder, Chief Patron, MITES MIT, I welcome all the guests, the eminent speakers, Dr. Prasad Ranganekar sir, Dr. Sanjay Deshmukh sir, Honorable Vice Chancellor Dr. R.M. Chitnis sir, Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor Dr. Milind Pandey sir, Honorable S.N. Pathan sir. Please give them a big round of applause. Thank you. Namaskar. Good afternoon. A hearty welcome to respected dignitaries on the dais of the dais. I welcome you all to the 29th Philosopher Sant Dnyaneshwara and Sant Shree Tukaram Endowment Lecture Series. This is day 3, session 3. Our honorable founder, father, UNESCO chairholder, Revered Professor Dr. Vishwanath Karad sir, envisioned and conceptualized this endowment series 29 years ago with the vision of unifying science and religion / spirituality for transforming humanity by establishing the culture of peace. The philosopher Sant Shree Dnyaneshwara and Sant Shree Tukaram Endowment Lecture Series serves as a transformative orientation program for the staff and faculty members of MIT Group. This lecture series offers participants a unique opportunity to engage with the profound insights and wisdom of distinguished scholars, philosophers, and thoughtful leaders from diverse fields. It is the journey of intellectual exploration and inspiration, paving the way to pursue excellence. Today, we have with us the eminent guest speakers, Honorable Dr. Prasad Ranganekar, IIT Mumbai alumnus, Member Steering Committee NEP Implementation, Chief Operating Officer, CMC Limited Tata Group, and then another distinguished speaker, Honorable Dr. Sanjay Deshmukh sir, former Vice Chancellor, University of Mumbai, and Professor Life Sciences at Mumbai. It has been our tradition since last 4 decades. We start every event program with a world peace prayer, a prayer that is above all caste, creed, race, and religious sects. Rather, this prayer brings all under one roof of humanity and thought of world peace. I request all of you to please rise in your seats, join your hands, close your eyes, and wholeheartedly participate in the world peace prayer. May I request our technical team to kindly play the world peace prayer.
प्रतिपाद्या जय जय स्वसंवेद्या आत्मरूपा देवातुति गणेषु सकलार्थमतिप्रकाशु म्हणे निवृत्तिदासु अवधारि गोदी गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
Thank you. Thank you all. We have recently introduced an exciting new segment to the Endowment Lecture Series titled Niti Ki Laghu Kahaniya, Think It Over. It is presented by Honorable Dr. Mukesh Sharma, sir, former Director General Film Division, former ADG Doordarshan, and CEO of Vishwashanti Channel, MIT WPU Pune, Bharat. May I request our technical team to relay a short story titled as Ek Netrahin Bhikari Bacche Ki Kahani.
स्वागत और अभिवादन। अनोखी और अद्भुत कहानियों के सफर में आप जुड़े हुए हैं विश्व शांति दर्शन चैनल से, जिसकी संरचना का श्रेय जाता है विश्व शांति के अनुयायी विश्वधर्मी प्रोफेसर डॉक्टर विश्वनाथ कराड, जिन्हें कुछ माह पूर्व उनके द्वारा किए गए उत्कृष्ट कार्यों के लिए यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स की ब्रिगम यंग यूनिवर्सिटी ने स्टूडेंट्स और टीचर्स के एक विशाल समूह के सम्मुख डीलिट की उपाधि से विभूषित किया। अंधे होने का अर्थ है दृष्टि का ना होना, मगर उससे बदतर दूरदृष्टि का ना होना। एक सुबह सवेरे सड़क किनारे एक अंधा बच्चा बैठा भीख मांग रहा था। उसके पास एक कार्डबोर्ड पर लिखा हुआ था कि मैं अंधा हूं, पैसे से मेरी मदद करो। वो जिस सड़क पर बैठा था वो काफी भीड़ भाड़ वाली थी। बहुत सारे लोग उसके पास से गुजरते, उसे और उसके कार्डबोर्ड को देखते और आगे बढ़ जाते। ज्यादातर लोग उसे पैसे नहीं दे रहे थे। जी हां। इसी दौरान एक व्यक्ति उस नेत्रहीन बच्चे के पास से गुजरा। उसने भी उस अंधे बच्चे को भीख मांगते हुए देखा, उसका कार्डबोर्ड भी पढ़ा, पर सबसे पहले उसने नेत्रहीन बच्चे के कटोरे में कुछ सिक्के डाले, कुछ पैसे, और फिर कुछ और भी किया, कुछ अलग। उस आदमी ने अंधे बच्चे के कार्डबोर्ड को उठाया और उस लिखावट को मिटाया जिस पर लिखा था मैं अंधा हूं, पैसों से मेरी मदद करो। उसके स्थान पर उसने वहां कुछ और लिखा और अपने रास्ते चला गया। वहां से गुजर रहे लोगों ने उस कार्डबोर्ड को पढ़कर नेत्रहीन बच्चे को अब पैसे देना शुरू कर दिया। भिखारी बच्चा हैरान था। वो ये तो जानता था कि कोई पहले वहां आया था और उसने कुछ सिक्के दान किए और फिर उसके कार्डबोर्ड को उठाया, उस पर फिर से कुछ लिखा, लेकिन उसे यह पता नहीं था कि उसने क्या लिखा है। अब वो शख्स फिर से उसी रास्ते से अंधे बच्चे के पास आया और आकर खड़ा हो गया। उसने देखा कि अब उस बच्चे का जो कटोरा था उस सिक्कों से भरा हुआ था। बच्चे ने भी उसकी टांगों की आड़ से अपनी छठी इंद्री से उसे पहचान लिया। ये नेत्रहीन बच्चे ने उस सज्जन से पूछा कि आखिर उसने उसमें ऐसा क्या लिखा था कि लोग उसे सिक्के दान करने लगे, उसे फिर से पैसे मिलने लगे। व्यक्ति ने उत्तर दिया, ज्यादा कुछ नहीं बेटा, तुम्हारा नेत्रहीन होना मैंने दूसरे ढंग से दर्शाया है। मैंने लिखा है, क्या आज कितना खूबसूरत दिन है, लेकिन मैं देख नहीं सकता, मैं अंधा जो हूं। कहानी खत्म। आइए देखें क्या सीखा हमने और आपने इस कहानी से। यही कि शब्दों में थोड़ा सा बदलाव अर्थ को यथावत रखते हुए नेत्रहीन बच्चे के लिए एक बहुत बड़ा बदलाव लेकर आया। इसी तरह अगर हम अपने जीवन के विभिन्न मुद्दों में सामान्य सोच पैटर्न से एकदम अलग होकर सोचते हैं ना, तो हम भी एक अंतर बना सकते हैं और अपने लक्ष्यों को आसानी से प्राप्त कर सकते हैं। लेकिन हमारे साथ एक समस्या है कि हम ज्यादातर एक समान पैटर्न में ही सोचते हैं। ज्यादातर हमारे पास नकारात्मक विचार होते हैं। कभी कभी हमें लगता है कि हमें अपनी उम्मीदों के अनुसार परिणाम नहीं मिल रहे हैं, इसलिए हम खुद को, दूसरों को और जिन परिस्थितियों में हम कार्य कर रहे हैं उन्हें दोष देते हैं, जबकि असली वजह कुछ और है। जो असल में हमारी सोच है, बस इसी में थोड़ा सा बदलाव चमत्कार कर सकता है। बेशक हमारे पास इस सोच के कारण हो सकते हैं, मसलन मेरे पास पर्याप्त साधन नहीं है, मुझे अच्छा मंच नहीं मिल रहा है, ये सब बातें मैं कह सकता हूं वगैरह वगैरह। लेकिन हमारे विचारों में थोड़ा बदलाव कभी कभी चमत्कार कर सकता है। मनोविज्ञान कहता है कि एक सकारात्मक विचार नकारात्मक विचार से हजारों गुना जी हां, हजारों गुना शक्तिशाली होता है। देखा जाए तो हम हमेशा बहुतायत के बजाय कमी पर ध्यान केंद्रित करते हैं, समाधान के बजाय समस्याओं पर, और अच्छी चीजों की तुलना में बुरी चीजों पर, और इसीलिए बदले में हमें वही सब कुछ मिलता है। मदर टेरेसा शब्दों और विचारों को बदलने का रहस्य जानती थी। उन्होंने कहा था कि अगर, एंड आई कोट हर, अगर ये युद्ध विरोधी रैली है तो मुझे आमंत्रित मत करें, लेकिन अगर ये शांति की रैली है तो मैं आना चाहूंगी। मैं चाहता हूं कि आप मदर टेरेसा के इस वाक्य को फिर से समझें और दो शब्द, युद्ध विरोधी और शांति के बीच के अंतर को बढ़ाने का प्रयास करें। अब यदि आप दोनों शब्दों के अर्थ देखें तो वो तो एक ही हैं। जैसे युद्ध विरोधी का अर्थ है कि कोई युद्ध नहीं, और कोई युद्ध नहीं का अर्थ है शांति। मदर टेरेसा ये जानती थी, उन्होंने युद्ध विरोधी के बजाय शांति पर ध्यान केंद्रित किया, और आपने देखा उसका परिणाम। हर दिन को एक जैसा देखकर आप अंधे हो सकते हैं। हर दिन अलग अलग होता है, हर दिन अपने आप में एक चमत्कार लेकर आता है। बस इस चमत्कार पर ध्यान देने की बात है। अगली बार फिर एक नई कहानी, फिर एक नया फलसफा और फिर एक नई सीख। देखते रहिए विश्व शांति दर्शन।
Extend a heartfelt thanks to Dr. Mukesh Sharma sir for sharing such profound inspirational stories through Vishwa Shanti channel. Those who have not subscribed, I request them to please subscribe the channel. Moving further, as per our tradition of MIT maintaining the spirit of Atithi Devo Bhava, may I now request our Honorable Vice Chancellor of MIT World Peace University, Dr. R.M. Chitnis sir, to please felicitate today's guest speakers. Honorable Dr. Prasad Ranganekar sir, IIT Mumbai alumni, Member Steering Committee NEP Implementation, Chief Operating Officer CMC Limited, and Executive Council Member, University of Goa. Thank you sir, thank you for being here today with us. Now may I request Honorable Vice Chancellor sir to please facilitate Honorable Dr. Sanjay Deshmukh sir, former Vice Chancellor, University of Mumbai, Professor Life Sciences. Please give a big round of applause. Thank you sir, thank you for sparing your valuable time and being here with us today. Thank you. Thank you so much. I request all the dignitaries to be please seated. Now it's time to invite our first eminent speaker, and allow me to introduce Dr. Prasad Ranganekar sir. Dr. Prasad Ranganekar sir is a distinguished professional with a remarkable academic and leadership background. An alumnus of IIT Mumbai, he has made significant contributions to education, corporate governance, and policy implementation. He serves as a member of steering committee for NEP implementation, where he plays a pivotal role in shaping and executing the transformative national education policy of India. Currently, Dr. Ranganekar is the Chief Operating Officer of CMC Limited, the entity of Tata Group, where his leadership has been instrumental in driving organizational excellence and innovation. His engagement in academia is equally noteworthy, serving as an Executive Council member of Goa University, where he contributes to strategic decision-making and institutional advancement. He has served as a trusted advisor and mentor across diverse fields, guiding numerous projects in areas such as IT, IoT, automation and control, CM Cares program in Goa, and Atal Tinkering Labs, fostering innovation and impactful outcomes. Indeed, it's an honor to have with us such a learned scholar and distinguished personality. It's a time to invite the eminent guest speaker to the session on the theme Spirituality plus Science plus sensibility is equal to serenity. Please give him a big round of applause, my dear friends. Over to you, sir.
नमस्कार सर्वांना. आपण कराड सरांना मिस करत आहोत, but I'm sure that he'll be very happy at home when he learns that we are all here congregated to discuss some subtle points on how probably there can be a confluence of spiritualism, of sensibility, which I think is most important as much as spiritualism is, and science, because being an engineer and a student of science at the age of 65, I think I continue to be the student of science, and getting all these together, not to destroy the world, but to do something which is more constructive and more, contributive. So, honestly speaking, I am not a great eloquent speaker like Dr. Deshmukh sir, Dr. Pathan sir and all. I am a simple engineer, control and automation. Because of my indulgence in pedagogy and other things. And at this age, you need to share some of your thoughts with the community. Otherwise, what's the use of being, so much for so long a time and innings in this profession? So I have taken this topic after a bit of sort of mutual discussion between myself and my dear old friend Girish Date, whom we have grown together in the same school. In Mumbai, and then we went different ways after SSC, obviously. I was fortunate to get into IIT. So, Deshmukh sir, my experience with Bombay University is only 1 year, and at that time it was first year science in the 1975-76 period. So, but I can always share the the open, out of the box thinking values that even today IIT and especially IIT Bombay is known for. My attempt is to share with you whatever I gathered in my 45 years of industrial as well as semi-academic or academic experiences, even as a project guide for, external project guide for even PhD students at times, and try to bring some sense into what is going on in the world today. सर्वात प्रथम माऊलींना नमस्कार. तिथे तर संपूर्ण संत मंडळींचा मेळावाच आहे वरती. त्यांना बघितल्यावर कुठेतरी असं डोळ्यातसुद्धा पाणी येतं, आनंदाश्रू येतात. पण शेवटी आपल्याला आपलं कर्तव्य करायचं आहे. सो नॉट टेक मच ऑफ अ टाईम. बिफोर वी गो फर्दर, आपल्या सर्वांना माहितीच असेल, yesterday was a very, very crucial day in the history of our nation. We were not there here unfortunately yesterday, but मला असं वाटतं की माझं हे कर्तव्य आहे ह्या देशाचा नागरिक म्हणून की वी ओ समथिंग टू आवर टू दोज हू डाय फॉर आवर लिव्हिंग, राईट. सो माय फर्स्ट आदरांजली, सुमनांजली एट्सेट्रा इज फॉर द हुतात्मे. आणि त्यात विशेष करून तुकारामजी ओंबाळे, ज्यांनी आपलं अक्षरशः, ज्यांच्यामुळे आम्ही तर असं म्हणतो की देश वाचला, नाहीतर ते कुठलं कुठे बालंट आलं असतं कोणावर तरी आणि हलवायच्या घरावर तुळशीपत्र वाहून लोक मोकळी झाली असती. परंतु बिकॉज ऑफ हिम वी वर एबल टू गेट दॅट क्रुकेड, क्रुएल, क्राफ्टी टेररिस्ट. आणि स्वतःचा जीव जरी त्यांनी गमावला तरी त्यांनी त्याचा होल्ड सोडला नाही. त्यामुळे द रेस्ट ऑफ द पोलीस स्क्वॉड वॉज एबल टू कॅच होल्ड ऑफ हिम. आणि ज्याचं काही लेना न देना, साऊथ इंडियाचा एक साधा मेजर उन्नीकृष्णन, जो अदरवाईज ही वुड हॅव सेंट हिज पीपल ऑन द फ्रंट, त्यांनी स्वतः पुढाकार घेऊन हेलिकॉप्टरमधनं खाली येऊन, ॲज यू ऑल नो अबाउट इट, कोणाला वाचवलं तर एका ज्युईश बाळाला. अँड रिसेंटली आय सॉ अ व्हिडिओ क्लिप वेअर अवर ऑनरेबल प्राईम मिनिस्टर हॅड गॉन देअर अँड ही मेट दॅट चाइल्ड फ्रॉम द चबाड हाऊस. आय फॉरगॉट हिज नेम. It's a very complicated Polish Jewish name. As it is, Polish is not a very easy language to, speak out, and on top of it, a Jewish name. So first and foremost, त्यांना आदरांजली वाहून I would share my mind space with you rather than saying that I will talk something on this subject. So, while we are talking of sensibility and while we are talking of spirituality, this is one classic example where we went through, and we know that Ajmal Kasab, whose crucial role was in terms of confessing who all were involved, who all were how the whole what shall I say, conspiracy was casted, and how Pakistan ultimately gets the blame of it. Unfortunately, for some reasons, some of the people we had to let go in the later on part of our nation's history, compromises that we had to do. But there are four highlighted entities whom I always worship day in and day out. सर्वात पहिला आणि सर्वात महत्त्वाचं म्हणजे माझे दैवत, ज्यांच्याबरोबर मी जवळजवळ 20 वर्ष माझ्या आयुष्याची इन्व्हेस्ट केली, रतन नवल टाटा. We call him R&T, Ratan Naval Tata. And I was fortunate because I was a part of the top 2,000 executives of the Tata Group, where every year we used to be given some gyan, and he used to take some information and input from us, how to shape the strategy of the group, not just the company. And I was a small part of the big group, and I had 1999 other stalwarts with me. But then we were able to do some very good work for the Tata Group as part of the defense initiative that all of us know by today. So I was one of the initial associates of, at that time it was TAL, Tata Aeronautics Limited, which was then sort of rechristened as Tata Aerospace Systems Limited, Tata Advanced Systems Limited, TASL. And TASL is today heading all the initiatives of defense in the Tata Group, contributing in a very big way, including UAVs, unaccompanied, unassisted vehicles, right, which are used for, taking care of IEDs and such other things in advance, so that we have less loss of personal life. And Ratan Tata has really formulated my life, if you ask me. Though I was being an IITian, we are taught to think out of the box. पण जसं कराड सरांनी हे आउट ऑफ द बॉक्स थिंक करून हे इतकं प्रचंड मोठा हा संसार मांडला आहे. मी व्याप म्हणणार नाही, इट्स अ संसार. आणि त्याच्यात आपण इतके जण म्हणजे जवळजवळ 30,000 लोक तरी असतील या कॅम्पसवर आणि सगळ्या कॅम्पसवर, बरोबर, कमीत कमी ते सुद्धा. आणि आपल्यासारखे सगळे सज्जन त्यांच्याबरोबर आहात. त्यामुळे संत संगे इथे येऊन मी तर कृतार्थ झालो आणि छान वाटलं. म्हणजे खरंच कधी कधी मन भरून येतं. गिरीशशी बोलताना मी तेच म्हणत होतो की व्हेरी फॉर्च्युनेट दॅट यू पीपल हॅव गिवन मी दिस ऑपॉर्च्युनिटी टू शेअर माय माइंड स्पेस. सो Ratan Tata actually gave me the freedom to do whatever I wanted to do in my small company, which was ultimately we were merged into Tata Consulting. So I retired after 60 years as an employee of TCS UK. And my association with the Tata Group is still on, but now a lot of other work is also in hands, including Vidyan Bharati Goa, Vidya Bharati Goa, NEP, आणि काही प्रमाणात आता एक्झिक्युटिव्ह काउन्सिलचं काम आलेलं आहे. ट्राईंग टू हेल्प. तिथे मी देशमुख सरांचं गायडन्स घेणार आहे हाऊ टू, आणि पठाण सरांचं, हाऊ टू रिशेप गोवा युनिव्हर्सिटी फ्रॉम what has been called as a downgraded NAC rating to bring it back to shape. And once upon a time it was a benchmark university in some fields. आता तर जरा challenges आहेत आम्हाला. The next person I would like to point out is the person who actually had the daring, गोळ्या झेलत, ज्यांनी अक्षरशः कितीतरी त्या टेररिस्टना त्या हॉटेलच्या आत अक्षरशः मारलं, ते IPS ऑफिसर विश्वास नांगरे पाटील. आणि आय कन्सिडर हिम ॲज माय आयकॉन ऑफ ब्रेवरी, व्हेलर अँड डॅशिंग. म्हणजे अक्षरशः म्हणजे सिंहासारखा त्यांनी तो जो त्यांची तुम्ही जर का तो क्लिप पाहिला तर आजही डोळ्यात पाणी येतं. कारण ह्या माणसाने जसं संदीप उन्नीकृष्णनने केलं तसं आपल्या जीवावर उदारून अक्षरशः कितीतरी टेररिस्टना पोचवलं. One of the reasons that the two terrorists managed to run away from the hotel, and then they were caught, of course, by P.I. Tukaram Endowment. And even today he keeps on helping us out with how to actually raise our standard of fearlessness. आणि आपल्याकडे भारतीय मनोवृत्ती अशी आहे की कशाला माझं, तर बाकीचे बघून घेतील, मी कशाला करू. पण ॲक्सिडेंट झालेल्या रस्त्यावरचा माणूस जे आपलाच कोणतरी असतो आपण धावतो, दुसरा कोणी आपण नाही रे कोणतरी बघेल. त्या वृत्तीमधनं बाहेर येऊन विश्वास नांगरे पाटील सरांनी आपल्याला दाखवलं हाऊ टू फाईट अगेन्स्ट इवन द वर्स्ट ऑफ द टेरर्स. I mean, he had only a pistol in hand. If you see he never had an AK-40 or nothing. And they had the most advanced AK-47s in their hand, right? SLRs. The third is Rakesh Mariaji. I mean, without his directions, I don't think probably we would have seen the day today. The whole history of this nation would have been recasted. And the fourth, of course, is many of you would not know this person. And his name is Sebastian Fernandez. Girish and me are extremely fortunate in our life that Sabi was our classmate in school days. And don't ask me where Sabi is today. तो गोव्याचा आहे पण आता तो गोव्यात नाही आहे. कारण even today there is a booty on his name by the IS as well as by ISI. The reason is Sabiमुळेच अजमल कसा पकडला गेला. लाईव्ह एव्हिडन्स ऑफ वेन ही वॉज शूटिंग. सॅबी तिकडे अडकला होता एका कोपऱ्यात, from where he was able to shoot the entire action of the terrorist or misaction of the terrorist. So these are the four people I owe, where I would say that stability of the mind and the spiritual drive that each of them had, and I would say the scientific thinking of people like Ratan Tata sir and Vishwas Nangre Padil sir actually was a confluence of a success that we got, where today we are in this hall discussing amongst ourselves. I don't know what the history of this particular nation after 2008 would have been. Incidentally, I was held up in my own, because I was the operations officer, in my own head office, that is where I was, in BKC, and I was having 4 Arabs with me. आणि माझ्या लक्षात आलं की हे जरी आडदांड अरब असतील तरी त्यांचा जीव त्यांच्या मुठीत असतो when such awful things happen. आणि ॲक्च्युली ते थरथर कापत होते. व्हॉट विल हॅपन टू देम. तर त्यांना भीती वाटत होती की त्यांनासुद्धा मारून काढतील आपले ऑल आवर ब्रेव पीपल हू आर ॲक्च्युली ऑन द स्ट्रीट टू सी दॅट द रेस्ट ऑफ द मिशॅप्स वर अवॉइडेड. पण 4 days आय वॉज स्टेईंग इन द सेम प्लेस इन माय ऑफिस. तेच कपडे घालून आम्ही वावरत होतो. ते तिथल्यात तिथेच काहीतरी नाममात्र आंघोळ करत होतो. आणि वी वर मॅनेजिंग, आय वॉज मॅनेजिंग अ ग्रुप ऑफ 450 people in my company. And somebody would say, अरे ते बांद्र्याच्या किनाऱ्यावर एक मोठी नौका उतरली आहे, टेररिस्ट लोक उतरले आहेत इत्यादी इत्यादी. ऑल दिस वॉज क्रॅप. बट देन पीपल वर अफ्रेड बिकॉज देर आर द फिअर सायकोसिस प्रिव्हेलिंग. तिथे स्पिरिच्युअलिटी, नाम जप हा अतिशय आमच्या सर्वांच्या कामी आला. योग, मी सगळ्यांकडनं योगा करून घेतलं. आणि आय सॉ टू इट दॅट देर इज अ सेन्स ऑफ stability prevails in the minds of people. Rather than being afraid of things, let us face it, pull it by the horns and decimate it rather than it trying to destruct you. So this is one such case that we came across. And these are the moments which actually redefined the world, as all of us know, right? And this is a collage I prepared. On the right side, as always, the rightists who have always helped us to bail out of very difficult situations. On the left side, they're not the leftists, so don't mistake me, but those people who really actually saw to it that the world was on the brink of destruction, right? So we have Adolf Hitler, we have Goebbels, we have your Yasser Arafat. This story is something different for me, but there is a dotted connect of mine with Yasser Arafat. And then you have Saddam Hussein, and you have Khomeini. I mean, both of them were at loggerheads with each other. And in my hostel, I was there in 1976 to 81. We had 2 Iraqis and 5 Iranis studying with us, engineering. And believe me, Iranis are some of the most brilliant of the communities I have ever come across. In fact, both the Iranis who were with me, they're ahead of me, they both were silver medalists of their respective job when they passed away. So you can believe me, this extremely brilliant community, and unfortunately there is a sort of herd mentality which now prevails in that country, maybe extremism or otherwise. That's why spirituality makes a difference. But when spirituality is mixed up with sensibility and sensibility gets lost or it goes for a toss, you see what unfortunately Iran has landed into today. A land of extreme chaos, right? And my friends are there and they keep on saying that we are waiting for the day for salvation. थोडक्यात म्हणजे काय, त्याला सगळ्यात बाहेर कधी पुढे आम्हालाच माहीत नाही. पण एक्स्ट्रीमली स्टेबल माइंडेड, एक्स्ट्रीमली डेडिकेटेड फॉर द नेशन, बट डुईंग जॉब विच प्रॉब्ली दे कुड हॅव डन मच बेटर अर्लियर. तसंच इराकी लोक, नॉट ऑल इराकीज आर डट्स, दे आर व्हेरी गुड, दे आर व्हेरी स्मार्ट, बट अनफॉर्च्युनेटली अंडर सद्दाम हुसैन अँड द अर्लियर regimes that were there, they were misoriented, misdirected, lack of spiritualism or driven by an extremities of sorts, too much of opulence. Oil was in abundance, selling oil they got opulence, they got so much of undefined wealth that one would call it, and what had happened is they were totally disoriented. From there it's still in, as we know, in a state of chaos, but hopefully one day order will come in. Then we have, I don't want to say about Hitler and Goebbels because we know it very well. We have the a brilliant civil engineer who ultimately deployed his mindset as a spiritual person, but again a non-sensible act of extreme injustice to humanity. And in a master stroke of engineering excellence that he was, a civil engineer that he was, he oriented two planes on the two towers, the twin towers. And whenever I go to New Jersey, where my son stays, I make it a point to go to they called it One Freedom Place now, right? One Freedom Place. Only one tower is there. And त्यांचं ते स्मारक आहे त्या जळलेल्या iron structureचं, which is also worship, because I don't know how many friends I lost, probably around 8 to 10 friends of mine from our own Tata group who were working there in different companies lost. Some of them have developed some major problems because they consumed by force too much of cement, dust and other things. Okay, but the clinical proficiency and precision with which the two towers were systematically brought down without any harm to the other towers. आणि मराठीत आपण म्हणतो ना, बुशच्या आणि अमेरिकेच्या एक्स्ट्रीमली ब्लोटेड इगोच्या नाकावर टिच्चून ह्या ग्रहस्थाने ते कर्म केलं. ते काय म्हणावं त्याला, कुकर्म करावं की काय करावं मला माहीत नाही. कारण आय हॅव स्टेड इन द US फॉर सम टाईम, आय हॅव बीन इन UK फॉर ऑलमोस्ट 20 years. I can tell you, none of the Westerners are saints. I can tell you with conviction because I have lived amongst them. When you go to Europe, you see some beautiful parts of Europe, etc., etc., etc. Well, mainland Europe is really a beautiful country. People are not only beautiful to look at or otherwise, but also beautiful minded. So you see, for example, Scandinavian countries or even Croatia, Bosnia in those days when it was a stable country by then, then Greece and others. But the problem is that when it comes to UK, I have my own opinions reserved. Because whilst we have a museum of Adhyatma here, wherever you go here, तुम्हाला विवेकानंद दिसतात, गांधीजी दिसतात, आपली माऊली दिसते, माऊलींच्या पाठी उभी असलेली त्यांची आदिशक्ती, चणे खावे लोखंडाचे तया ब्रह्मपदी नाचे म्हणणारी, अवघ्या वयाच्या 18व्या वर्षी तिने समाधी घेतली त्या मुक्ताई, किंवा आदिनाथ त्यांचा अवतार निवृत्तीनाथ, असे आपल्याला जिथे इथे सगळे आयकॉन्स दिसतात. तिकडेच तुम्ही टावर ऑफ लंडनला गेलात तर माझी बायको चक्क 5 मिनिटात बाहेर आली. कारण टावर ऑफ लंडन ओनली एक्सप्लेन्स टू यू हाऊ गोरी द प्रॅक्टिसेस. हेनरी द सिक्स्थने त्याच्या जवळजवळ 7 काड बायकांना जमिनीत चिरून डोकं वरती ठेवून पुरून सिमेंट ओतून मारलं. नाउ इवन व्हेन आय एम टेलिंग यू दिस, माझ्या अंगावर काटा उभा राहतो. Imagine that they show this as, what shall I say, jewels of the Tower of London. Forget Kohinoor. I mean, Kohinoor I don't care. त्यांच्याकडे असो आपल्याकडे असो, because it has no other value beyond being a priceless item. So it is like, utopia. What's the use of Kohinoor to me even if it comes here? It's only a pride, right? But the way that they are trotting around all the, what shall I say, grabbed and by force looted wealth. When I was in Ireland, I'm talking Republic of Ireland, for about 18 months. That time there was no mobile, so the connection was only through ISD calls and all. So no question of माय फादर इज टू से नो मेसेज इज अ गुड मेसेज. आजच्या काळात असं होतं की देशमुख सरांना उशीर झाला असं मला वाटलं, पण आय हॅड टू सेंड हिम अ मेसेज, सर कुठे आहात तुम्ही, एव्हरीथिंग इज ओके, काय मदत लागणार आहे का म्हणून. पण त्या काळात तसं होतं. सो इन दॅट दोज टाइम्स स्टेईंग अलोन इन अ, आय वॉज द ओनली, आय वुड से, कल्लू गाय. The rest of them were very beautiful Irish people. And as all of us know, almost all the entire America is run by Irish presidents most of the time. रेगन घ्या, तुमचा हा घ्या, काय तो क्लिंटन घ्या, इतर सगळे जे काही असेल ते, तुमचा पीनट, व्हॉट इज दॅट फेलोज नेम, पीनट प्रेसिडेंट, व्हॉट इज नेम, जिमी कार्टर, राईट. सो all these people come from there, and very, very beautiful people. At that point of time, when I had gone to Cork, and they told me that Cork has a connection with Bharat. Two connections. The historical connection is Robert Clive was dispatched because of non-compliance and non-accountability to Cork by the British. Clive was a British, but he was dispatched to Cork. त्याला परत हलवायच्या काळाला तुळशीपत्र, कॉर्कची अख्खी काउंटी त्याला देऊन टाकली. पण he apparently came with 14 boats load, 14 ships load of jewels and jewelry and ornaments and precious gold from Bharat in those days when he had to come back. And out of his 2 hours sunk in, but they sunk automatically in the Cape of Good Hope area and all that. At that time there was no Suez Canal, right? तिथे आहेत, पण बाकीच्या 12 शिप्स आपण म्हणतो ना मराठीत, विक्टोरियाने ढापल्या चक्क, आणि त्यांनी त्या हे केल्या. आणि म्हणजे दॅट्स हाऊ द वेल्थ दॅट द ब्रिटिश हॅव गॉट. If you go to all these European countries, most of the countries are today in shambles because they don't have anything of their own like we have. We are driven by spirituality. The whole nation is the pivot of our nation is spirituality. That's why we are known as a land of spirituality, right? आता काशी विश्वनाथाचं म्हणा किंवा वाराणसीचे घाट म्हणा किंवा कुठलंही म्हणा, म्हणजे अजमेरचे बाबा म्हणा, किंवा वेरेवर यू गो यू फाइंड स्पिरिच्युअलिटी ॲज, किंवा परमहंस रामकृष्ण परमहंस म्हणा, विवेकानंद म्हणा, ओके. बट देर इज नो सच कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ स्पिरिच्युअलिटी इन दोज कंट्रीज टुडे. दे हॅव बिकम, आय मीन, they oppose religiosity like anything. They feel it is blind faith. But what they don't understand is blind faith in religion is different from blind practices in the way of life. जसं आपण म्हणतो सनातन धर्म is not a religion. Hinduism may be a dharma, but Sanatan is a way of life, right? That is where sensibility is brought in when people. So you find Steve Jobs coming to India, right? So that's where this topic of confluence of science, spiritualism, and sensibility. And you see, the moment, even today, when Apple announces a new model, whether it's an iPhone or a new tab or anything else, there's a mad rush. When I was in UK, जब Apple 12 आला होता, there were 3 days long of advance queues, more than some 6 miles in the city of London outside the Apple main shop. वेडेपणा, मूर्खपणा, whatever you call it, right? म्हणजे दगड ठेवायचं नाही, तिकडेच राहायचे ते लोक, थंडीच्या दिवसात डिसेंबरमध्ये. So when it comes to this sensibility, the West desperately requires the crutches of our Sanatan Dharma and our practices, not as a dharma but as a way of life, to have a sensible mindset where त्यांचं कसं आहे, माझं ते माझं पण तुझं ते सुद्धा माझं. आपलं कसं आहे, अरे तुझं ते तुझं रे, पण माझं ते चल पाहिजे घेऊन जा की. आय मीन, जे माझ्या घरी आहे, चल तुला मी गुळ पाणी तरी देतो. तिकडे असं नाही, तिकडे म्हणजे यू हॅव टू इन्फॉर्म इन ॲडव्हान्स. आज मी देशमुख सरांच्या घरी जाईन तर मी काय सांगणार नाही तर मी येतो आहे म्हणून. मुंबईत आलं सर तुमच्या घरी मी येतो आहे, ते म्हणणार नाही तू कशाला येतो आहेस, असं नाही म्हणणार नाही, अरे बा मी आहे किंवा नाही आहे. पण तिकडे यू हॅव टू गो बाय अपॉइंटमेंट, राईट? अँड ऑल दीज थिंग्स, द unnecessary formalities that come into being, right? And unnecessary आपल्याला हिणवण्याची त्यांची ती एक क्रूर कर्म पद्धत होती. That has made England what it is today. And today when I go back to UK to meet my friends, okay, I see a huge amount of chaos and commotion. I feel very sorry for that place, which was supposed to be a place where the sun doesn't set. But today the sun is waiting to rise. So there is no sun to rise there. आता ऋषी सुनक गेला, आता कोण कोण येत आहेत, कोण कोण जात आहेत, हे चालूच आहे. केऑस बिटवीन स्कॉटलँड Wales, etc., etc. We know it very well, England, right? So this is where I come to when you talk of the other conflict in the Middle East and a third conflict in the Balkans, right? I mean, as a student of strategy, as I would call it, and again common sense, okay, almost all of us are aware that the entire Ukraine process is nothing but a design by the defense manufacturing lobby of the US and Europe, who don't have any other way to sell their inventory. And therefore they have invoked this fellow who is nothing but a stage actor, a joker. Okay? And if you see the way that he talks, I mean, it is like, हवा. आपल्याकडे सुद्धा तसे काही मूर्तिमंत उदाहरण आहेत. I don't want to name them, but recent elections we have seen so many people who are talking all gas and all bakwas and no material, right? पण हा president आहे त्या देशाचा, right? And these people have disoriented the entire West to believe that they are the people for the debacle. Russia. Well, Russia is only saying आम्हाला आमचा तेवढा पार्ट परत द्या, बाकी मी आहे तुमच्या बरोबर, right? Yes, Russia is an expansionist country, no doubt, like China is, but not to the extent that because today everybody has a clamp on what they want to do. I can't really go and annex POK today. I have to go through a proper process, right? That's where sensibility is. Now that tomorrow our own PM would have सरळ घुसवली असतं सैन्य. What would have happened? Another Palestine, Hamas, Israel conflict would have taken place. So this is where sensibility comes into picture. I'll wind up very fast. This is our Mula mantra, right? सहनावतो सहनो भुनक्तु सवीर्यम करवावं हे. तर ह्याच्यात आपण तेच म्हणतो की बाबा सर्वांचं भलं हो. ओके, अवघे विश्वाची माझे घर हे म्हणणारे आपणच आहोत नाही का फक्त, होय की नाही? आणि let us have the spring of knowledge influence our future. Let us ourselves cleanse ourselves with the flow of energy and a positive energy, that too. तेजस्विना उदितमस्तु मा विद्विषावहे. तेजाचं संपूर्ण आपण काय म्हणू ते आपण आत्मसात करू and let us go ahead on the path of progress. तसंच another thing which strikes here is, how we as a sensible country scientifically decimated the possibility of a major war between Bharat and Pakistan. And when we come to the Uri strikes, Uri was a debacle by Pakistan, a completely miscalculated hook, right? And our PM, of course, no doubt, but the key to all this was our defense NSA, Ajit Dovalji. And they crafted the strategy in such a way की बालाकोट कधी झालं हे पाकिस्तानलाच कळलं नाही. आणि आजही डिबेट चालू आहे, वॉज इस्रायल रिस्पॉन्सिबल ऑर वेदर इंडिया डिड इट ऑन इट्स ओन. So I leave it to you to think over this slide and see how spirituality also came into picture here to give sensibility to the entire strategy that he worked out scientifically. Okay. The next is the unfortunate mess that is going on today in Israel. When I was in Israel in Tel Aviv as a guest of the Tata Group, we had gone there for some defense negotiations. I found it, and I found Arabs and Israelis together in those days. I'm talking about 1998, 2007 to the 8 when I had gone there. Okay, and what is it today? I'm scared to assess. I mean, to look at WION or Al Jazeera or even BBC and CNN. And only news is about the mess that is going on in this one and in this one, right? And we discussed briefly upon this. Okay, so again here, what has failed miserably here? Are they not scientifically well-equipped countries? And Israel, I feel, is at the apex of scientific research. So we all know, and as there's a famous clip which is viral on the WhatsApp University, as we would call it, which talks about Israel and its 99% of the inventions of the world today. All the innovations of the world are happening in Israel, and we are waiting for Vishwaguru to come up to bring it to 90% and make our 9% contribution to it. येईल तेव्हा येईल, पण येता येते. We can see that ourselves, right? Launching 104 satellites in one shot was a feat which never ever Israel had imagined. but we did it. So we have technology excellence with the stable thing, with the, I mean, what you first saw is Dr. Somsumundaram Abhishek त्यांनी केला तिरुपतीला जाऊन. Scientists going to Tirupati and doing the Abhishekam, as they call it, right, was a shake-up for the entire world. एवढ्या प्रचंड कुवतीचा scientist, and he goes to Tirupati first rather than anywhere else. And then of course we know rest of the scientists how they are, right? So again here, how insensible, calibrating of our opposition by both Russia and Ukraine. Okay, Ukraine thought that they will get a support from NATO. And they म्हणतात ना ठेंगा दिलाय आणि अजूनही त्यांना ठेंगाच दिलाय. And Russia thought that the war will wind up in 7 weeks. I have friends in Russia who told me this, and I thought it will. I believed them, but I am still believing that this war will go on for another 5 years. Okay? हा तर आपला आयुष्याची सुरुवातच इथनं होते. ईशावासेम इदम सर्वम, बरोबर? एका म्हणायची घर आपण म्हणतोच ते इकडे, राईट? मी तुझ्यात आहे, तू माझ्यात आहेस. आता हे कशासाठी महत्त्वाचं आहे इकडे? तर असेला माझा हरी तर देईला खाटल्यावरी. हे टिपिकल जेव्हा म्हणजे म्हणतात ना, यदा यदा ही धर्मस्य ग्लानिर्भवती भारत, ती ग्लानी आली होती 150 वर्षांची, तेव्हा आपल्याकडे टेंडन्सी झाली होती. अँड अनफॉर्च्युनेटली माय फादर साइंड ऑफ अबाउट 8 years बॅक. ओके, बट अ व्हेरी कंटेंटेड पर्सन, एज ऑफ 90, नातवंड भेटली, मुलं भेटली, सगळे मित्रमंडळी भेटली, पुतणे भेटले, भाचे भेटले, सगळं काय झालं. आय विल वाइंड अप 2 minutes ओनली. पण सांगायचं एकच होतं की ही स्टील यूज टू से, अरे प्रसाद, पोर्चुगीजांचं राज्य होतं तेव्हा गोवा बहरीला होता. बिकॉज ही स्टील बिलीव्ड दॅट इन दोज इयर्स, आय एम टॉकिंग अबाउट 5-7 years बॅक, काय करणार हे नरेंद्र मोदी? काही करू शकणार नाही. दो ही सॉ नरेंद्र मोदी अँड ही इज डेफिनेटली अ पार्ट ऑफ द RSS नेटवर्क, ही वॉज. पण त्यांना एक प्रकारचा एक चिंता होते, पण ते हसत खेळत गेले. वेन ही सॉ डिमॉनिटायझेशन अँड ऑल. आय एम नॉट अ फायनान्शियल एक्सपर्ट, सो डोंट आर्ग्यू विथ मी ऑन दिस. ओके, पण आय थिंक what I will do is, I will wind up my session. I will leave the presentation with you. You are always free to use whatever you want out of it. But it basically, what I have done is to enmesh our principles, आपले जी काही वैदिक काय म्हणतात रुचा आहेत किंवा वैदिक श्लोक आहे, उपनिषदातले काही एक्स्ट्रॅक्ट्स आहेत, गीतेतले काही एक्स्ट्रॅक्ट्स आहेत, त्या तुम्ही पाहालच. ओके, आणि हा शेवटचा आपला मंत्र आहेतच महत्त्वाचा, बरोबर की नाही? आणि सर्वात महत्त्वाचं जे विच इज द, आता काय म्हणू, आयसिंग ऑन द केक म्हणू की शिवा ऑन द टॉप ऑफ द हिमालयाज म्हणू, हा जो शांती मंत्र आहे तो आम्ही दररोज रात्री झोपताना म्हणतो, बरोबर? आणि दिस शांती मंत्र आय थिंक गिव्स मी द स्ट्रेंथ, द एनर्जी, द सेन्सिबिलिटी अँड अ सायंटिफिक, आय वुड कॉल इट सायंटिफिक स्पिरिच्युअलिटी टू वर्क आउट माय डे फॉर द टुमॉरो. तुमच्या सर्वांचे धन्यवाद, माझं ऐकून घेतलं. चूबू द्या घ्या. मी पुण्यात आहे, त्यामुळे पुणेकरांचं ऐकून घ्यायला तयार आहे. धन्यवाद, नमस्कार.
Thank you so much, sir. Very thoughtfully you weaved together these 3 dimensions, science, spirituality and sensibility, with in-depth and clarity. It has not only expanded our understanding about the need of harmony between science and spirituality, but also we are inspired to cultivate the sensibility in pursuit of serenity. Whatever examples you have shared, they are the testimony for the same. So moving to the next session, next speaker, now it's time to invite Honorable Dr. Sanjay Deshmukh sir. It's my pleasure and honor to introduce him to you. Dr. Sanjay Deshmukh sir is a life scientist and academic thought leader in higher education, currently serving as a professor of life sciences at the University of Mumbai. Renowned for his pioneering research, visionary leadership, and dedication to sustainable development, he has left an indelible mark on education and environmental conservation. As the youngest Vice Chancellor of Mumbai University, Dr. Deshmukh led reforms impacting 800 colleges and more than 8 lakh students, fostering transparency, global best practices, and with a specific focus on skilling and employability. His academic excellence is reflected in 2 honorary Doctor of Sciences degrees, postdoctoral degrees, and his recognition as a PhD guide in 5 disciplines. Dr. Deshmukh's groundbreaking work on mangrove ecosystems established a global conservation network and developed strategies for preserving sacred groves in Maharashtra. He secured grants totally nearly rupees 170 million for his personal research and resulting in over 200 research publications. Additionally, he has mentored numerous doctoral scholars, ensuring his research continues to make a profound, long-lasting impact. Dr. Deshmukh's policy expertise has influenced national and international environmental frameworks, integrating sustainability into development planning. His community-focused initiatives have won awards such as Best Village Development Award for Bamboo Reforestation. A fellow of prestigious scientific bodies, Dr. Deshmukh's visionary and transformational leadership and commitment to advancing science and education is truly inspiring across various sectors and disciplines. We are very fortunate to have with us such an amazing and difference-making personality. It is a time to invite such an eminent speaker and great scholar to share his thoughts on the theme, harmonizing science and spirituality, illuminating the path of IKS and NEP 2020 for global peace. Please give him a big round of applause. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
नमस्कार आणि शुभ संध्या. आपल्याला माझ्याबद्दलची माहिती आदरणीय पाटील सरांनी अतिशय चांगल्या प्रकारे सांगितली. ती माहिती मीच लिहिली होती, त्याच्यामुळे त्याच्याबद्दलची सत्यता सांगण्याबद्दल मला काहीच अडचण नाही. परंतु एक तिराईत म्हणून त्याच्याकडे पाहिल्यानंतर भारतामध्येच राहून भारतासाठी काहीतरी करावं या ध्येयाने 80पेक्षा जास्त वेळा परदेश प्रवास करूनही आणि 2दा युनायटेड नेशन्ससारख्या संस्थेमध्ये नोकरीची संधी असूनही भारतामध्ये राहून काहीतरी करणं आणि ते एवढ्या प्रमाणात करणं असा जर आपण विचार केला तर मलासुद्धा अचंबा वाटेल. अशा प्रकारच्या संधी मला ईश्वरी कृपेने आपल्याच देशात मिळू शकल्या आणि त्याच्यामुळे त्याचं संपूर्ण श्रेय माझ्या आयुष्यात आलेले सर्वजण, ज्यांनी मला जन्म दिला ते माझे आईवडील, ज्यांनी मला शिकवलं आणि ज्यांच्याकडून मी सतत शिकत आलो, असे सर्व यांचं ते श्रेय आहे असं मला वाटतं. आणि म्हणून पाटील सरांच्या बोलण्यातील सत्यासत्यता पडताळण्यापेक्षा आपल्या देशात राहून आपण काय करू शकतो आणि आपल्यासारखे सर्वजण गेले 5 दिवस ज्या आत्मीयतेने आणि ज्या तळमळीने या कार्यक्रमाला अतिशय आपण ज्याला म्हणतो की कॉन्सन्ट्रेशननी उपस्थिती दिलेली आहे, त्याबद्दल मी आपल्या सर्वांना धन्यवाद देतो. आजच्या या कार्यक्रमाच्या अध्यक्षस्थानी आपले आदरणीय कुलगुरू चिटणीस सर आहेत. विश्वनाथ कराड सरांच्या अनुपस्थितीमध्ये सुद्धा त्यांच्या अस्तित्वाचं एक फिलिंग या सगळ्या वातावरणामध्ये मला जाणवत आहे. आणि पठाण सर असतील किंवा त्यांचे सर्व सहकारी, ज्याच्यामध्ये आत्ताच आपल्याला स्वतःच्या विद्वत्तेने अचंबित करून 40-45 वर्ष कार्यरत असूनही एखाद्या 30-35शीतल्या तरुणाप्रमाणे आणि तेवढ्याच उत्साहाने आपल्याला आपल्या मनातले विचार सांगणारे रांगणेकर सर असतील, किंवा आपल्यामध्ये सुद्धा 30-35-40 वर्ष अध्ययन आणि अध्यापनामध्ये सतत कार्यमग्न राहून सर्वांना प्रेरणा देणारे सर्व शिक्षक असतील, आणि या अतिशय भव्य दिव्य अशा स्पिरिच्युअल विद्यापीठामधील काम करणारे सर्वजण असतील, ज्याच्यामध्ये पांडे सर आहेत किंवा पात्रे सर आहेत, चक्रवर्ती सर आहेत, या सर्वांना अभिवादन करून माझं मनोगत मी आपल्याला सांगण्याची आणि आपण ऐकून घ्याल अशी मला आशा आहे. या 29 वर्षामध्ये इथे येऊन आपल्यासमोर बोलण्याची मला प्रथमच संधी मिळते आहे, आणि मला असं वाटतं ते माझं भाग्य आहे, कारण इथे उपस्थिती दिलेले जे सर्व वक्ते त्यांची यादी जर आपण पाहिलीत तर मला असं वाटतं की इथे येऊन आपल्याशी बोलणं याला खरोखरच भाग्य असावं लागतं, हा माझा अनुभव आहे. आणि म्हणून या मला दिलेल्या विषयावरती काय बोलावं याचा विचार करत मी गेले 15 दिवसामध्ये माझं भाषण किंवा माझे विचार साधारणपणे 18 पानामध्ये मांडलेले आहेत, आणि जे मी आपल्या चिटणीस सरांकडे आणि सॉफ्ट कॉपी त्याची देणार आहे, जेणेकरून ते वाचून आपल्याला या विषयाबद्दल थोडंसं विस्ताराने आकलन होण्याची एक संधी मिळेल. त्याचबरोबर एवढ्या सगळ्या मुद्द्यांवरती लिखाण केल्यानंतर ते सर्व मुद्दे पॉवर पॉईंट प्रेझेंटेशन या स्वरूपामध्ये मांडताना 54 स्लाईड्स तयार करण्याची माझ्यावर वेळ आली, आणि मला अवेलेबल असलेल्या 26 मिनिटांपैकी या 54 स्लाईड्सचं वाचन जरी करायचं म्हटलं तरी ते शक्य होणार नाही, आणि त्यामुळे हे प्रेझेंटेशनसुद्धा मी आपल्यासाठी आपल्या संयोजकांकडे आयोजकांकडे दिलेलं आहे, आणि ते आपण जरूर वाचावं अशी माझी आपल्याला विनंती असेल. माझ्या प्रेझेंटेशनमध्ये मी ज्या स्लाईड्स आपल्याला दाखवीन त्याच्यातले काही मुद्दे मी वाचेन, परंतु त्याच्या अनुषंगाने मला जे म्हणायचं आहे ते आपल्याला नक्कीच मी सांगेन, आणि त्या व्यतिरिक्त त्यातून जो एक संदेश आपल्याला न्यायचा आहे तो मला असं वाटतं सगळ्यात महत्त्वाचा आहे. तर आपल्या परवानगीने मी माझं मनोगत इंग्रजीतून सुरू करतो. धन्यवाद. The topic of harmonizing science and spirituality, illuminating the path of the Indian knowledge systems and NEP 2020 for global peace and progress is a topic when I thought and I shared with Pandey sir. He felt it was amazing, and that increased my responsibility, because ultimately it's very easy to identify glorifying titles of any talk, but ultimately the content and the message that one has to give, it requires a lot of research, and that is what I have tried to do during the last couple of weeks. I have divided this particular presentation in 9 parts, and I would be highlighting bullet points only, as I mentioned. However, at the end of the presentation, there are about 8 to 10 tables which will synthesize what is written in the text, which I'll be sharing, as well as what will be projected as about 40 to 45 slides. And every slide, though readable, it will be difficult to complete reading before I move on to the next slide. So this particular slide is highlighting the bridging the eternal divide, and there I'm trying to talk about science and spirituality. It was often perceived as opposites, and therefore the divide, which is historical but not inherent, and I'm mentioning that the perception of a divide arises from cultural, philosophical and historical shifts, which is not an inherent truth. So therefore the harmonization of these divides is very urgent in today's world. It is very timely, therefore, that we have been talking about educating minds and igniting thought processes of the young generation of our nation, where almost 18 crore population out of 140 is below the age of 16 in our nation. And therefore, the introduction of the national education policy is very timely initiative in understanding the traditions that we belong to, the traditional knowledge, whether we can blend with the modern technology and knowledge and disseminate through the young generation and ensure that they will not only develop good character, enhance the ability to strengthen their mind, but also stand on their own feet as envisioned by none other than Swami Vivekananda. And I think with that philosophy, we'll have to look at this aspect of bridging the eternal divide. The Indian knowledge systems about which there are enormous discussions held before getting inducted into the national education policy. And we are privileged to have Shree Ranganekar here, who was part of the process which culminated into the policy, which is now under the implementation stage. There could be hiccups, but ultimately the content in letters and spirit, I think, is very important. And if we are able to implement it to the extent that it envisages its implementation, I think we will be at a different level of not only reinventing our past, but also projecting India as a nation which will be a path breaker and a global leader in every sphere of life. The traditions of Indian origin, they integrate not only within the region, but the fact that many people from various countries used to visit our nation for want of knowledge and a combination of knowledge and spirituality which will give them wisdom. And that is where the erstwhile universities established in our country, which are now there only in the form of remnants. We have been trying to revive some of them. But they speak about the huge amount of human resource as well as the literature produced by our ancestors to provide enlightenment to everybody who came to seek that. We always believed that harmony is a way of life, and if you take a holistic approach where there is a belief that human beings, which are only one species out of 1.7 million species on this planet, identified by again human beings, but our population, the way it is increasing, almost 1 billion per every decade, we will have to look at our own selves as to a species which is competing with enormous number of other species which are probably not even known to us. We have not even named them. So how do we look at our own life? How do we look at providing what we call it as equitable opportunities to each and every species that is surviving or living on this planet? And that is where we are talking about consciousness that came out of the systems that we developed, and today we call it as Indian knowledge systems. A global question which arises out of the fact that we believe in harmony as a part of life or way of life. Can science and spirituality guide us to a sustainability level? NEP 2020 provides a framework for integrated education, as all of us know, and many of us have been able to witness and practice it as a part of educators ourselves. And it definitely balances skills for producing what we call it as wisdom for harmony and productivity. The contribution of our own nation, which we can call it a model for global peace, talks about values, that is ahimsa, the concept of world is a family, vasudhaiva kutumbakam, and the ecological stewardship, where there was an element of conservation in each and every act of human beings while dealing with environmental components surrounding us. The global peace, the model resonates with universal aspirations for justice and peace, and also it encourages intercultural dialogue and sustainable progress. The 7 to 8 parts that in which this particular write-up I have prepared, the first talks about essence of Indian knowledge system, which combines ancient wisdom and science, where integration of diverse disciplines like philosophy, astronomy, mathematics, medicine and linguistics form an integral part, and interconnectedness of existence forms an integral part of it. The achievements of our country's contribution include Vedanga, that is Vedanga Jyotish, which connects astronomy to agriculture, Aryabhatta's mathematical innovations, which impacted algorithms, Ayurveda, which integrates philosophy, mind and environment. Further contribution includes holistic science, where pursuit of knowledge is linked to dharma, that is responsibility, and Panchakosha model highlights the layers of human existence. The harmony with respect to intellect and ethics talks about philosophical foundations, where Upanishads, Jainism and Buddhism, as well as further generations of reformers like Gandhiji, which applied the concepts and principles of ahimsa and non-violent conflict resolution in providing social justice. Gandhiji is not the one who practiced this, but there were several individuals who took clue from the traditional knowledge systems of our country and walked on the path laid by the contributions of our nation. The ancient wisdom that was revitalized later has a contemporary relevance with Vedic ecological principles which align with sustainable development. Rigveda's celebration of rivers highlights natural resource preservation, and Sthapatya Veda's architectural practices align with green buildings. How NEP 2020, which is a 21st century find of our policymakers, intellectuals and spiritual leaders, is the vision which talks about reviving India's ancient educational ethos, promoting creativity, ethical thinking and emotional intelligence, and encouraging interdisciplinary learnings. The vision further talks about holistic development. It moves away from exam-centric education, as all of us know, and it blends science, humanities, and arts in curricula, where there is no division between the faculty, and the compartmentalization that we had till recently has been now dissolved, and everyone is in a position to go for any discipline at any level of education. The global citizens that are nurtured by the philosophy which is behind NEP 2020, and education is looked upon as a tool for social transformation, as well as the values that I spoke about, ahimsa, satya and dharma, are basically the ones which are given emphasis. And of course, the world is one family. The concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is fostered through this conceptualization. The transformative potential of NEP is basically inclusivity and equity, integrating ancient wisdom which talks about ethical frameworks which influence even artificial intelligence and biotechnology. In addition to that, we have research and innovation, where the realization of Indian knowledge systems can be done through the conceptualization of principles which are mentioned in NEP 2020, where this particular aspect encourages collaboration between traditional scholars and scientists, and also the Arthashastra or economics can be learnt with Upanishads the concepts as resources for contemporary inquiry. Science and spirituality, that is the overall theme of this entire 7-day series of lectures. How do we look at a complementary duality within the science and spirituality? And I'm talking about interconnectedness of knowledge. It deals with the interplay of science and spirituality, shared quest for truth and holistic understanding, in addition to Nyaya and Vedanta, which are two contemporary or complementary paths, where Nyaya means logic in science, Vedanta is intuition in spirituality, and the interwoven wisdom, which is the fusion of logic and intuition, which enhances both realms of knowledge, is basically a complementary duality that we are talking about. It also talks about neuroscience and spirituality, where meditation and brain science, the studies have shown meditation promotes brain plasticity and emotional well-being. Impact on health, where spiritual practices can have measurable scientific benefits, and neuroscience validates ancient spiritual practices, showing their relevance today. The case studies, there are 3 case studies that I'm talking about. The details are given in the paper that I have written. Ayurveda and modern medicine is one example. Sustainability in action is the second one, where spiritual principles inspire environmental conservation efforts like the Bishnoi movement. The Bishnoi movement was then translated into what we call it as Chipko movement. And the Devarai concept of our ancient scholars and visionaries, which talked about naming a patch of forest or a few group of trees as an element of God residing within, and to protect that without any disturbance, led to the concept and conceptualization of sacred groves in later years. And today, these are the only remnants of original biodiversity within that particular location from various agroclimatic regions of the country and the world. And therefore, we will have to look at Ayurveda and modern medicine as an example, sustainability in action, as well as space exploration and spirituality as case studies of science and spirituality. The integrated epistemology talks about empirical and experiential knowledge, interdisciplinary education, and holistic problem solving, where again they fall under the contemporary duality. A shared commitment to human flourishing deals with science and spirituality's common goal, where both the disciplines aim to improve humanity's well-being. The framework, which is very comprehensive, talks about science which addresses material needs, spirituality nurtures the soul, and synergistic future, which is basically combining the best of both, leads to human flourishing. The global peace and sustainability, what are the pathways, where IKS and climate action deals with ancient wisdom for modern crisis. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam again talks about one earth, one family, where Indian philosophy fosters the interconnected worldview of humans and nature, and sustainable practices rooted in tradition, where from agroecology to water conservation, ancient practices align with modern sustainability efforts. The next point I am talking about is sacred earth, that is the ecological stewardship, where sacredness of nature, ahimsa, that is the non-violence toward nature, and Prakriti and Purusha, a unified existence, which is the balance of nature and consciousness that guides modern environmental science. Eco-conscious agriculture talks about agroecology in Indian tradition. Modern research validates ancient practices and sustainable agriculture for future generations. Sustainable agriculture is not criticizing the green revolution that came in at a time when we needed to produce sufficiently to feed our own population. And subsequently, the guiding force, the political force through C. Subramaniam and Anna Sahib Shinde, the science force through Dr. M.S. Swaminathan, and the financial backup through Shri Bhutalingam, who was the finance secretary to Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. They combined and steered what we call it as Green Revolution, where within the 4 years between 65 and 69, we were able to produce so much that it surpassed the entire production put together in the preceding 4,000 years. So that was not a mean achievement at all. And then we started realizing the challenges of Green Revolution, and we started talking about Evergreen Revolution, where integrated intensive farming systems practiced by farmers of India in 164 agroclimatic regions came in handy as a Indian knowledge, where the traditional knowledge coupled with modern technology could lead to a concept of bio-village, a concept promoted by Dr. Swaminathan himself, whereby integrating traditional and modern technologies, one could feed the entire population and do away with the green revolution technologies slowly but steadily. So from that perspective, I think sustainable agriculture that we talk about today have the roots in the green revolution itself. The global peace and sustainability, where the community-driven environmental solutions, there are so many examples in the past couple of decades that we can talk about, like Rajasthan water harvesting or collective responsibility, where the Indian ethos of collective responsibility offers a roadmap for global peace and sustainability. Science and moral purpose, where ethical dimensions of science progress or scientific progress can be measured by technological advancements, which can be grounded in moral and spiritual insights. And one can look at dharma in science, that is, the ethical guidance can be provided for responsible scientific endeavors, and technology can also be modified to serve humanity for not exploiting or harming it. The ethical imperative of science talks about ahimsa, ethics, and long-term sustainability, and the role of education in ethical development, where again NEP 2020, integrated approach to learning and inclusive education for social justice, can be the guiding force for implementation of NEP. The path which is relating to ethics, justice, and human flourishing talks about taking the line for a just, sustainable world, and a holistic education framework which is provided through NEP can create a foundation for an education system that fosters both intellectual and moral development, science and spirituality in harmony, and a vision for global peace. Strategies for fostering intellectual dialogue can be a future of humanity which will depend on bridging the divides, and the interconnectedness of the world calls for a collective global efforts to build understanding. Fostering intellectual dialogue, what are the strategies? We talk about combining Indian spiritual wisdom with scientific inquiry, and a model of NEP 2020, which is basically a value-based education. Intercultural dialogue through Indian knowledge systems, which can be ancient wisdom that offers transformative framework for navigating cultural diversity, and spiritual wisdom and scientific inquiry as complementary, integrating both, can address both material and spiritual challenges. When we talk about building global platform for knowledge sharing, then there will be educational frameworks, cross-cultural academic collaborations, and integrating scientific and spiritual knowledge in global education, which will build a more equitable, sustainable world by valuing diverse wisdom. What is the role that our country has played in terms of its uniqueness in global peace? The cultural and intellectual heritage of India shapes its global role, its contribution to global peace through ahimsa, and the concept of dharma guiding individual and collective responsibility, where IKS provides solutions for sustainable development. The philosophical contribution of our nation are in terms of ahimsa and its global impact on peace building, dharma and collective responsibility for social justice, holistic approach to development integrating science, spirituality and ethics, and India's role in international sustainability initiatives, where India has played a very active contribution and role to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals through ethical frameworks. The sustainable development that we're talking about is living in harmony with nature through IKS, and it provides a plethora of knowledge in following those guidelines and principles where the needs of the world in terms of ethical and spiritual perspective can be met. A vision for harmony for the 21st century where we envision a harmonious world through integrating science and spirituality, providing tools where spirituality offers ethical guidance, and shifting priorities towards human-centered growth. The NEP 2020 has prioritized creativity, the holistic education to foster both intellect and spirit, and has provided framework for global educational transformation. When we talk about embracing NEP 2020 as a global model, I think educational systems, knowledge base, as well as opportunity for our nation to lead the world through NEP 2020 are enormous, and we'll have to look at these things more critically. And based on the intercultural dialogue, we can achieve this goal where we can talk about our role as a mediator in global peacekeeping or peace building through education, through the spiritual knowledge as well as the traditional knowledge that we have. So if we are able to share our heritage, we can guide international dialogues on peace and sustainability. Here, global peace and progress, if you are talking about going towards that, then we'll have to look at the vision of harmonious world, which is achievable through global cooperation, and by embracing both scientific insights and spiritual wisdom, we can foster peace and sustainability. Science and spirituality coalesces for a harmonious world. IKS also provides a holistic framework, and we will have to act for the global peace. There are so many conflicts about which Rangnekar sir has mentioned. We will be in a position to use our traditional knowledge and provide the required peace that the world is aspiring for. The tables I am talking about are there in my presentation: relevance of IKS to modern scientific inquiry, essence of Indian knowledge systems, key features of NEP 2020, pathways to global peace and sustainability, illuminating global path forward, ancient Indian philosophical contributions to global thought, integrating IKS in contemporary education, bridging the science and spirituality, a global approach, and that's it. I have just tried to run through the last few slides, but that was for the want of time limit that I have. But the presentation that I have will be useful for you to refer and imbibe some of those ideas to take forward our national education policy. Thank you very much for providing the opportunity.
Thank you, Honorable Dr. Sanjay Deshmukh sir, for wonderfully and thoughtfully sharing your insights about integrating Indian knowledge system with modern education for holistic development of man, and also sharing your compelling vision to global peace and harmony through implementation of national education policy. Now I'd like to invite Honorable Dr. S.N. Pathan sir for the concluding remarks.
मित्रो, मी माझे उत्स्फूर्त कन्क्लुडिंग रिमार्क्स देऊ इच्छितो. दोन्ही वक्ते अत्यंत अनुभवी आणि अत्यंत विद्वान आहेत, आणि MITचं जे एक मिशन आहे की सायन्स अँड स्पिरिच्युअलिटी, आणि याच विषयाला मान्य कराड साहेबांना त्यांनी यात वाहून घेतलं आहे, आणि म्हणून वर्ल्ड पीस युनिव्हर्सिटीची स्थापना झाली. अगदी याच विषयासंबंधी बोलणारे दोन्ही वक्ते आज आपल्याला मिळाले. मी समजतो की हे आपलं भाग्य आहे. मी फक्त एवढंच म्हणेल की भारतीय संस्कृती महान आहे जगामध्ये आणि म्हणून भारतीय संस्कृतीमध्ये आज आपण पाहतो की जे देश मॉडर्न म्हणतात, मी युरोप खंडामध्ये सगळ्या देशामध्ये फिरलो, त्या देशामध्ये आज फॅमिली सिस्टीम राहिलेली नाही आहे, जी विश्वशांतीचा किंवा कौटुंबिक शांतीचा कणा आहे. मातृदेवो भव, पितृदेवो भव, आचार्य देवो भव, अतिथी देवो भव, राष्ट्रदेव भव, हे फक्त भारतीय संस्कृतीमध्ये आहे. ज्या इस्लामिक संस्कृतीला सतत असं वाटतं की आम्ही जास्त स्पिरिच्युअल आहोत, त्या संस्कृतीमध्ये आतंकवाद घुसला आहे आणि ते देश एकमेकावर हल्ले करून मानवतेची हत्या करतायत. आणि म्हणून मी भारतीय संस्कृतीकडे आज संपूर्ण जगाचं लक्ष लागलं आहे. काही एकमेव संस्कृती आहे आणि ती यामुळे श्रीमंत आहे की वी हॅव हॅड व्हेरी ग्रेट इंडियन नॉलेज सिस्टीम. आणि आपण मॉडर्न एज्युकेशन अँड इंडियन नॉलेज सिस्टीमचा जर मेळ घातला, जे माननीय कराड साहेबांना सायन्स अँड स्पिरिच्युअलिटी, तर मला असं वाटतं की हा देश निश्चित विश्वगुरू बनेल आणि त्यासाठी आपण सर्वांनी प्रयत्न केला पाहिजे. एवढीच मी या ठिकाणी खरं म्हणजे म्युझिक, देशमुख साहेब, आमच्याकडे जे इंडियन म्युझिक आहे, जसं आपण आयुर्वेदाबद्दल बोलला, आयुर्वेद कुठं नाही जगामध्ये, पण इंडियन म्युझिक सिस्टीम काय आहे या जगामध्ये. म्हणजे आमच्याकडे जे क्लासिकल किंवा इन्स्ट्रुमेंटल म्युझिक आहे ते जगामध्ये कुठे नाही आहे. म्हणून इंडियामध्ये काय नाही आहे, तेव्हा पुन्हा एकदा मी दोन्ही वक्त्यांचं अतिशय मनापासून त्यांचं अभिनंदन करतो, त्यांचे आभार मानतो. आणि भारतीय संस्कृतीचं वैशिष्ट्य त्यांनी जे आपल्यापुढं ठेवलं ते आपण स्वीकारलेलंच आहे, परंतु त्याप्रमाणे आपण या विद्यापीठामध्ये याचा वृक्ष करूया अशी मी आपल्या सर्वांना विनंती करतो आणि तशी ईश्वरचरणी प्रार्थना करतो. थँक्यू व्हेरी मच.
Thank you, Dr. S.N. Pradhan, sir. Now may I request Honorable Vice Chancellor Dr. R.M. Chitnis, sir, to kindly propose the vote of thanks. Over to you, sir.
On behalf of Dr. Karad, sir, Rahul Karad, sir, all the trustee members, all the faculty, staff and students, it is indeed pleasure to extend vote of thanks. As rightly said by Dr. Pathan, sir, both of them are very eminent personalities. One is celebrity vice chancellor of a celebrity university, if I can say, Mumbai University. And on this particular topic, as he said, he will share his soft copy of PowerPoint presentation. I assure you, sir, that those who are interested, those who contact VC office, Pandit office will circulate it. And I will call this as a more of a research paper. The kind of an analogy you presented today, the prologue was about bridging the eternal divide, how spirituality is portrayed, and how empirical inquiry from the metaphysical reflection. That was your beginning. Later on you spoke about Indian knowledge system and contribution of Indian philosophy to intercultural and ethical harmony. You then shifted to the second part of your presentation was NEP, how NEP can be connected with this particular knowledge and revitalizing Indian knowledge system through NEP 2020. Later on, you touched upon shared commitment to the human flourishing And that was very, very interesting, especially when you have such kind of a wars happening around us. And then you went into a very important phase called Pathways to Global Peace and Sustainability. Actually, this particular university is working on it. We have a separate department for this under leadership of Dr. Pandey sir. And then one of the important topic which you touched upon is ethics, justice and human flourishing. And then ultimately you spoke on eliminating the global path forward. This is very, very important, and while sitting at the top position of Mumbai University Vice Chancellor, you have taken out so much of time for us, and we don't have words. Once again, on behalf of Dr. Karad sir and Dr. Rahul Karad sir and entire family of MIT, we thank you wholeheartedly. And as we say during Ganesh festival, especially the last day of Ganesh festival, to Lord Ganesha, Punara Gamana Yacha, God, you please come back next year. And that is what is my first feeling about you. Coming to Dr. Prasad Rangnekar sir, I want to tell you that he was very humble to the kind of organization responsibilities he had in his life. He was actually heading CMC as a CEO, which was then taken over by or merged into TCS. And TC has multiple companies, and L&T also. And TCS has multiple location presence and separate subsidiaries, and he was head of TCS UK, you can say. A man of different hat I could see looking at his kind of opening remarks, and a different kind of intellectual. You would ask me, prove. So initially I was watching the time and I was watching his PowerPoint also. Initially he spoke about himself and then fear psychosis and jump and spirituality, how it gets connected to sensibility, and doing yoga in the office when 26/11 attack happened. But by his experience, he advocates and he has that authority to say, which all of us will like, is that India has a supremacy in technology all over the world. That were your words, which comes from the horse's mouth as a CEO of TCS or CMC. You also shared about, a particular moments redefined the world order. And there where his intellectual capacity was seen. This was only one slide, and which was moments which redefined the world order, and started from Saddam Hussein, Yasser Arafat, someone who had attack on the US towers. And then on the other side, you also spoke about, Hitler. And both when Hitler and you speak about Bin Laden, you always said that these people who come from different locations of the world are intelligent, especially when you mentioned about Iranian student who was with you in IIT Mumbai, and the different academicians and professionals you met during your course of life and course of professional life in from the Iran. You said that they are intelligent, but they lack spirituality. And then you always connected that India is the country which has kind of a spirituality or science and spirituality. And also you use one more word called sensibility. We have been saying here Vivekananda's statement, and we heard repeatedly from Dr. Karad sir that union of science and spirituality will bring alone peace to mankind, humankind. But you today added one more, which is a sensibility. And being an engineer, you put the equation today, spirituality plus science plus sensibility. which is equal to serenity. And outstanding person, and in a very informal way, a non-academician he put together, and we just got a half cup of tea today, and we are looking for one more and many more to come. So thank you very much. And Dr. Dr. Prasad Rangnekar sir, you may be wondering that we were talking many things about Goa and my coming there and all that, but how come I remember all these things and I repeated both of you what we spoke? So that is, kind of a, I'll use the dialogue of Dr. Deshmukh. This is what we get from God, this is what we get from Father, Mother and from our Guru. And that's why I was doing parallelly my office work, talking to you also, talking to Deshmukh sir, talking to Pandey sir, and coming here and got this opportunity to showcase my little bit intelligence in the lighter when I say, thank you Dr. Pandey for giving me this. But let's all clap together for both the speakers, and in addition to that, but we want one more good round of clap for someone who is organizing this endowment lecture series for last 20 plus years. And his name is Dr. Pandey sir. A person who takes all of us together. And I told him, why don't you give concluding remarks and do vote of thanks? He said, no, Dr. Pathan sir will do concluding remarks and I will do little bit talking and then give vote of thanks. So with this, I want to share that we are coming to an end for today's particular day, and then Pasaidan will happen. And after that, we will come to know about tomorrow's program. We will meet tomorrow at 6:50 for yoga, and 2 sessions in the morning and 2 sessions in the afternoon. Enjoy the cold in the morning and enjoy Dr. Padekar, Guruji, who gives us this. At least I have enjoyed for last 3.5 days. Thank you very much. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat, Vande Mataram.
की गुरु शिष्यांचं आज मिलन झालं आपल्या ह्या कॅम्पसवर, आणि मला मजा अशी वाटली की पठाण सरांनी पहिली चौकशी केली, अरे देशमुख आले नाहीत का अजून, आणि पठाण सर कुठेतरी दुसरीकडे होते, आणि देशमुख सरांनी मला विचारलं पठाण सर आहेत का हो इकडे, म्हणजे आणि नंतर जेव्हा त्यांचं दोघांचं जेव्हा एकत्रित मी बसतो त्यांच्या बाजूला, खरंच मला भरून आलं. हा अपूर्व योग होता. आणि त्याच्या पलीकडचा ज्याला मणिकांचन योग आपण म्हणतो तो हा की गुरुने आपल्या शिष्याची स्तुती केली आपल्या कन्क्लुडिंग रिमार्क्समध्ये. आय थिंक दॅट डिझर्व्स अ बिग हँड.
Thank you, sir. As per our tradition, as we have come to the end of the program, may I request all of you to please kindly rise in your seats, fold your hands, close your eyes, and wholeheartedly participate in the universal anthem. I request the technical team to kindly play the universal anthem, Pasaidan. we will start our yoga session sharp at 7 a.m. in the morning. Our first session will happen at 8:30 a.m. and the second session will be at 10:30 a.m.